Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Herbie's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Diana, join me on the Lall Show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:20 p.m. and a rebroadcast at 11 a.m. The Lall Show only on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM.
$19 20 in Guyana and right across the Eastern Caribbean for the Lall Show. In the words of the man, let's get kicking and let's get cracking. He's been away for quite a while. The majority of you have called me and expressed your gratitude for the broadcast that we would have been bringing to you in his absence. But his absence was worth it because he went somewhere and he's going to hear all that you throughout the course of his programs. It's not going to be all tonight, but of course the series of conversation will continue. It's time for me to hand you over to the man in brown. He's brown and he's here to stay. In the words of him, we're in brown, stick around. So we're running a lot tonight, sir. With that said, I'll now hand you over, and after this presentation, you can call us. Those numbers are scrolling on our screen for social media persons looking at us. Quickly, 226-745-324 or 622-2222 and 624-6456. Man in brown, stick around. The floor is now yours. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys for joining in. Let me say namaste to all you beautiful people. Be brave enough, yes, Josh, brave enough to start a conversation that matters. One conversation can shift the direction, change. Brave enough. Yes. Start a new conversation that matters. One conversation can shift the direction of change forever. That was the words of a woman named Lall. We in Guyana have a far way to go. So let us begin this conversation tonight. It's long overdue, and we need to begin a conversation that will help take Guyana out from where it is. And that conversation has to begin tonight. Yes. Guys, I came back from Trinidad, a 3-day oil and gas conference. That's why you guys didn't see me on Monday, Wednesday. Everything that came out of that 3-day conference is what Guyana is to the nation and to the region. Let me repeat. The 3-day conference was about everything Guyana has belonging to the region and the world. That is what I heard throughout the conference. Conversation, the discussion was all about how their dreams, their prosperity, and their livelihood rest on Guyana's oil. Yes, guys, our wealth. That's why they showcased. That is what was showcased. That was the discussion. That was the conversation throughout the oil conference. It's about what they can get and how much they can get from our wealth. Yes. The world is waking up, conversing and planning with your wealth. And what you, the leaders of this nation, is conversing, is talking, is chatting about. Well, over 700 delegates from all over the world sat in a ballroom, and the only thing we're discussing is your thing, uncle and auntie. Yes, our wealth. That is what we're discussing all throughout the 3 days in Trinidad and Tobago. Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. Yes. What are you talking about? What is the Guyanese people talking about? Guys, you know what we're talking about? What are we going to cook today? Who going to wear what? Who going where? Who there with who? And who in there with who? You know what I'm talking about? That's what some of you talk about all day and every day. The next type of going on in this country is, girl, you hear what happened? They had a terrible accident. A very, very bad one, 2 dead, and enough of them injured. Girl, this thing really out of hand, you know. Then, some of you does be talking about what y'all planning for do this weekend and where y'all going. And while you planning to go party with an empty pocket, the world is plotting. Yes, the world is planning and gaffing to empty your country's pocket, to fill up their pockets. Joshua, I wish the Guyanese people had gone to the conference with the reporters to hear how Guyana was talking, how they were boasting of Guyana, what it has for them. Yes, that was their conversation about what world can get out of Guyana. 2 days ago, Exxon partner was again boasting their shareholders and the world about more oil find in Guyana. What are you boasting and gaffing about, Uncle and Auntie? What is there for you in that mega find? Ask your leaders what your country is boasting about. This is where I want to tell you people, let this conversation change this country. Let this conversation be on your breakfast table. Let it be on your lunch break and on your dinner tables. Let this conversation be with your neighbors, with your friends, with your workmates. Let it be in the minibuses. Let it be at every road corner, every prayer homes. Let this oil conversation be in every spare time you have. Remember, guys, too late shall be the cry. Please, please, I am begging all of you, my brothers and sisters, all of you, wake up. Don't do this to yourselves, your children, and your grandchildren. Please change the conversation and change the gaff. The politicians of this country is going to wake up and do the right thing for you. And I don't have to tell you the reason. You're seeing it. It's very clear. They are corrupt. They are incompetent. And they have no backbone. Only me and you have to put pressure and fire under them. Guys, and this can only be done if this conversation is from who? Yes, from who? You have to change it, uncle. Conversation has to change. That's the only way you will have money in your pockets. Brace yourself. A terrible head of road you have, not only for yourselves, but for your grandchildren. In Trinidad, at that conference, several speakers talked about getting more revenues out of their resources for their countries and their people. I'll share an example with you. Trinidad Energy Minister said their dung gravy, in a few years everything will be finished. So now they're hustling to get the best from the little they got left. I shook my head when I heard that. Here it is. After 100 years as an oil and gas producer, yes, look where Trinidad is today. How their leaders give away and destroy the country and its people. But today, Uncle, yes, today is a struggle, a hustle, a scramble to get what rain couldn't full, hoping that Jew will full it, the remaining little isle fields they have left. That is what we were told at the oil conference Monday. Now you tell me, if that's not the exact road that I already started out on, and racing away at breakneck speed to approve projects on projects for the oil companies, in which nothing, absolutely nothing is there for us but crumbs. You don't want me to repeat? The people now hustling and scrambling to get a few dollars out of little gas fields they have left. Not oil field, gas field, natural gas. President Ali attended that conference and gave a speech. As I sat there listening to what he was saying, the international gathering with over 700 delegates, I couldn't believe my ears. Here is a leader of Guyana. Guyana, the talk of the world, with its new oil resources that full everybody's eyes in this world, telling the audience how the region needs money. Yes, he telling them the region needs money, loans to develop their countries. No one is lending us. That is what he find to talk at the conference. How the region need money and nobody lending us. That is what he went to Trinidad to talk about. That was the best that came out from his mouth to an international audience. Yes, man. This is what coming out from the mouth of the leader of Guyana, a country sitting on top of a mountain of money that is further enriching the rich world. Talking about how nobody lending we money, and the only people who are willing to lend us is the Caribbean Development Bank, who only got a limited amount of money to lend we. If we want to put solar energy in the region, that is what he told the audience. This man should have gone there and talk about money for Guyana, about profits for Guyana, and how they're going to get it. This man should have gone there asking for guidance and help. Instead, the president talking about not getting loans to borrow. Yes, he's talking about getting loans to borrow. Is this man in charge of a massive mountain of oil and gold wealth, man? Or he's in charge of Dharamsala with beggars, or the orphanage with hungry children. You guys did not hear what took place at the conference. You heard some clips from the local media in Guyana, including the Kaieteur News, but you didn't hear and you didn't know what really took place. I think President Ali should play his speech. Or you know what? You know what, Auntie? I will play it after this program so that you can hear the entire speech. But for now, I will give you a little piece of his focus on loans and debts for Guyana and the region, rather than profits and prosperity for Guyana and the region. Listen to him. Please listen to him. You will hear President Ali talking about where they will find money to fix back a transformer, how much money they need to fix the electricity system in the region. Raj, could you please play President Ali?
What is the reality? The report card as of 2020 shows that only 11.5% renewable energy was achieved. 11.5%. So realistically, if we are so far behind the target that was set, and we have all the natural disasters, because one natural disaster like GP, you have to go back to more fundamental things. Sometimes you have to reel an entire transmission system. Where is that capital loss coming from? We have not seen a single announcement by any of the multilateral agencies of a window, a financing window to support this ambition. For a matter of fact, it would be so shocked to know that the only known available financing to achieve this target is with CDB, with a loan portfolio of $1.4 billion. This is the reality. This is not skirting around the issue or intellectually tampering with the issue. There's a lot of intellectual tampering with issues that does not fit into reality these days. But we have the responsibility as policymakers to fit things in its realistic environment and construct. So what is the estimated renewable capacity across the region? It is 1,574 megawatts. But what would it require? What is the capital that is required? You're talking about a minimum of $11 billion to start with in achieving the most fundamental of targets.
My God. Listening to President Ali, I concluded that he thinks he's the smartest man in the room. Can you believe an oil-rich country leader that the world looking up to is talking about if you get a natural disaster and a transformer broke down, where the money gonna come from to fix it? Joshua, can you believe that? Somebody please tell me that was not President Ali speaking there just now. Please tell me. Talking about the whole region was only able to meet 11% of solar and wind electricity because they ain't got money for go full solar. They got to get loans. You believe this is what our president went to an oil conference with 700 international oil delegates, and this is what this man is talking about? He talking about the Caribbean Development Bank have little money to lend the region, and all them got is only 1.4 billion, and the region need 11 billion to provide 1,574 megawatt of electricity. Now, can you believe that is what is coming out of the leader's mouth in a country that can provide 11 billion US dollars overnight to the whole region and fix the electricity problem once and for all? If, yes, if, uncle, he only does the right thing and get what is rightfully ours from this massive oil industry. Uncle, we could be the lender to the region. We don't have to depend on international financial institutions or the CDB that he talk about with only 1.4. If we get our rightful share, brothers and sisters, we can become the lending institution for the whole region. Look, uncle, look. While in Trinidad, one of ExxonMobil partner boasting to their shareholders that they made 624 million in the last 3 months of 2022. And further said, every year they will be taking out over 2 billion US dollar from Guyana in profits with only 2 oil ships working. And you know what, uncle? They only have 30% share in the business out there. So if them can make over 2 billion US from 2 oil ships, just sit down home and do the maths and see how much money coming out a year from the whole 100% on 2 ships alone. Just do the maths, man. It's 7 billion American dollars in profits going to fatten, develop, and enrich the already rich countries. And guess what? President Ali begging them same country, abusing the country in Trinidad, telling them that nobody lending we a couple billion for help we with solar and wind energy. Uncle, the oil companies talking about profits in the billions when the owner is talking about borrowing by the billions at the conference. How you like that, Raj? Oh boy. And you know what was worse, Auntie, at that conference? 3 separate panels sitting at that conference pick up what came out of President Ali's mouth and made that into a discussion. As I sat there listening to those bright people repeating what President Ali said, and then making that into a centerpiece of their discussion on that stage, I wanted to throw up and then walk out. Begging for loans when we own the world. Yes, when we own the world. When Guyana owned the world. You guys see why third world nations fail? You see why third world nations remain in poverty with their people sick and starving? Is because of this type of understanding how business runs in the world and what must be first priority. When you own flock, when you own flock of golden geese, the money tree I'm talking about, uncle, It is in our hands. Why are we begging? Why are we borrowing? You guys see why I have said earlier, this conversation, this gaffe must change. And why it has to begin today, tonight? Because of things like that. Let me repeat. If this doesn't change, nothing will change in this country. Nothing will change in this country 100 years from now. 100 years from now, they will be ganging up at conferences like that one in Trinidad, and our children will be discussing, will be discussing how they could be given more time to repay the money that President Ali and whoever else is borrowing in them name. Yes. That's where Trinidad and the region is at the moment. And that is where President Ali and Jagdeo is taking all Guyana. Instead of up the ladder with profits, they are taking us down the debt drain. Yes, the debt trap. No, uncle and auntie, that is not corruption alone. That is total incompetence and unbelievable madness going on in this region. Today, the Stabrook News reported a story in which David Patterson told them Guyana should have been getting their full 50% profit from Liza 1 because the money that already came out of Liza 1 don't pay off for that project. I had to smile and shake my head. Had Patterson known that unless all the billions spent on all the projects is paid off, Guyana will never be able to talk about half and half profits. It will remain half and half of a quarter of every barrel for the rest of the life of the project. Uncle, Patterson, out of all persons, should have known that his government did not install ring fencing provision so that Guyana could get its full 50% profit share after each project is paid off. He should have known that. He should have also known that Jagdeo is continuing in the same vein. His government approving more and more projects and not installing ring fencing provision to let Guyana have its full 50-50 profit share from each project after it's paid off. No, they didn't do that. They didn't do that. In a nutshell, uncle, what I just said there means each mango tree, when you finish paying off the cost, you must get full half and half profits. Without the ring fencing provision, you have to wait until all the expenses is paid off on all the mango trees before you get a full half and half profit, which will never happen. You will continue to get half of a quarter of a mango, yes, as long as the backyard got mangoes. That is what I said in a nutshell. This is what is going on in this country. This is why the conversation has to change. If it doesn't, you will not get any changes, uncle. You will only be reading misleading information and listening to clueless and dotish politicians. Yes, like what you read in the Stabrook News today. Uncle, if you don't understand what I just said there, please call me at the end of the program and air your question. Let me explain it some more for you people. And allow me to sidetrack a little. Driving to and from Timeri Airport, the road, I don't think the money Guyana getting from the gold plus all the oil will be enough to fix back not only the road, but the thousands of vehicles that are being brutalized and damaged as they travel up and down that road. Very soon, you will need another whole budget to fix and correct things like that alone in this country. As we drive through Trinidad, the roadways have already begun to look like Guyana, with potholes here, there, and everywhere. Looking at the news in the hotel one night, a man named Ian Allen, you guys can Google him or check his YouTube page. He's like a Glen Lall in Trinidad, showing some horrible potholes, worse than Guyana 2 nights ago. The problem is, Trinidad doesn't have money now to fix anything. Yes, after 100 years pumping oil, they don't have money to fix the roadways now. And I ain't talking about food yet. One taxi that we took said, boss, you can give me something more, man. I had to take out a little change and give him. That's how bad they are in Trinidad. Uncle, throughout the discussion at the conference, Guyana was the talk. Guyana was the eyeball of the world. And the eyeball for the Guyana leader was loans. Guyana was the eyeball for the world, and we leader was the eyeball for loans.
In a wealthy country.
Guys, the discussion, the gaffe, the conversation, exchanges have to begin to change now. Please don't wait another day to go by without changing that conversation in the Almouth. We cannot continue to miss the bus every day. We have to wake up and be there on time to take charge of our journey, our destination, our destiny, Uncle and Auntie. Please wake up and change it. Let me share a story. What happened at the conference with me, and then you will understand why the conversation has to change, why we have to be on our toes, and why we have to open our eyes, stand up and speak up. During one of the panel discussions, they were displaying a huge map of Guyana's oil wealth, misleading the entire audience. When I looked at it, I could not sit down on that chair without getting up, walking up to the stage in front of the entire audience, which you're not allowed to do, and raise my objection to that misleading piece of information on the map. The map of Guyana's oil wealth extended into Venezuela's water. No. That wasn't a mistake, guys. These international gangsters don't make mistakes like that. They don't showcase another man's property that doesn't belong to Guyana. They have their own aim, which I am not going to say about tonight. But me and my reporters did wait at the end of the session and promptly raised this grave piece of misleading information with the people running the conference. You know, Greg? It turned out with President Ali's intervention, hours later, they corrected the map and issued an apology. This is where, and this is why we cannot afford to sleep at the wheels. If not your country and you will run right overboard. This conversation has to change, and it has to change quickly, Uncle and Auntie. The trainee reporters are still shocked that I got up from my chair and went right away to the front of the stage and confronted the panel to register my concern. I did what I had to do. I didn't care if they wanted to throw me out. I would not sit quiet and allow anyone to influence or mislead where our wealth is concerned. I don't need any approval from anyone to raise my voice, and so it should be with all of you, Uncle and Auntie. This is our wealth. This is our country. We have to safeguard it. We have to protect it. We have to get what is right for all of us. Everybody at that conference was talking about raising revenues from whatever little they have left and what they can get out of Guyana from our wealth. And our leaders went there to complain that the region not getting loans to borrow. Huh? The persons who write that speech for President Ali should be sent packing forthwith. And if President Ali is the one who wrote that speech, then he needs a re-education all over again on how business operates, especially in the oil sector. You know, Greg, I really thought that Vice President Jagdeo, with his vast knowledge and smartness, would have made it his duty to be in Trinidad, since he is the man in charge of the oil sector in Guyana.
Correct is right.
But for whatever reason, he wasn't there. Maybe he's too busy sitting down with other smart men like himself, discussing Guyana's oil wealth in their own terms.
Yeah, right then.
Whatever that means.
All right then.
What you said, Greg?
All right then.
He should have been there. There is no way a man like Jagdeo should have been a no-show at that oil conference. But like I said, the man must be got his own priorities, like sitting with critic. Yes, like sitting with critic. He sat down 2.5 hours with critic for selling Nancy stories, but can't take 1 hour to come sit down in front of the independent media and tell a straight and clear story. You hear that? He promised one of my reporter, Kiana Wilberg, the eye lady of Kaieteur News, since December 2020, 25 months today, for come and sit down 1 hour with that girl. You hear me? And to now, 25 months pass, and he can't find the time. But he can find hours upon hours to sit down with a man named Critic to share Nancy stories to the Guyanese public. If y'all just listen to Critic, I'm not certain. He told Critic, them borrow money to build the bridge which carry up the budget. But when the bridge is done, it will pay back for itself. So the budget wouldn't be so big next year, Uncle. Then he said the same thing with the Wales gas plant. The money they're going to borrow will be paid back when they get it up and running. And the budget wouldn't be so big again next year. You hear that? This is where he find time to say. You have his tape there, play that tape, let him hear it, man.
The money to build the bridge. It's in the budget, and so it pushes up the budget a bit. But when the bridge is built, the budget will come down back because we've completed building the bridge. The same thing with the power plant, which is in the budget now, the gas to energy. When that's completed, it pushes up the budget, so the budget looks big now. When it's completed, it's done. We don't need to spend that much money on the budget anymore, such a big budget. But $39 billion, that's the annual revenue of GPL. That's about 200 million US dollars. So if we cut the electricity price by 50%, so from 30 cents to about 15 cents per kilowatt hour, that means people can save 100 million US per year, the Guyanese, that when that project is completed. They don't think about that. They don't think that it's, in fact, the leader of the opposition said, oh, we want to move away from primary commodity production to manufacturing, which is a standard thing. Everybody speaks about it around the world. And I've not seen any project to tackle electricity, which is the biggest cost in for manufacturing. The man can't even read the budget. We have a big project like that. He says specifically he didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. He has the budget before him. But they don't look at this sort of thing. We're building 7 new hospitals next year, 7, and maybe another 4 will start in the hinterland. About 11 new hospitals will start next year. In fact, this year, 2023. That has an impact on people's health care. We can't eat every cent up.
Oh boy, Uncle, I came across that on TikTok. I was going through TikTok and I saw that TikTok and I listened a piece of it and I said I have to talk about it. But the more I listen to it, Uncle, I honestly believe that Jack Day will get too old and keeps on repeating and singing the same old Dead House song. How electricity price can cut by half, which is from 30 cents to 15 US cents per kilowatt. And Guyana will save 100 million US a year. And that is what, Greg, President Ali at his next press conference will tell the world. How much time them done talk about this Wales gas plant and how they fed up talking about the Wales gas plant. How much you betting me? One thing they go to in all the time, electricity gonna cut in half. How it gonna cut in half? That part they're not showing us, Uncle. All the time, you know. That's the only thing you hear from them out. He gonna cut in half, but you're not hearing nothing how he gonna cut in half. Jack David tell you loan, the loan he took for build the Skeldon plant gonna bring down the cost for produce sugar by half. I don't have to repeat anything else. That loan still sits with us for our grandchildren to pay. Either tell us to, they had more packaging plant and the Bower Beach Bridge gonna bring in lots of money. We still have loans on them projects too. Man, when you listen to Jack Day, you feel like vomit sometimes. Uncle, I keep asking, name a project that Jack Day will embark on that has become a reality in this country. Name one and I'm going to give any Guyanese 1 million Guyana dollar. Anybody. Now he's singing, electricity gonna cut in half. When the whole world is producing electricity far less than 10 cents per kilowatt, he can cut in half 15 cents. Y'all Google it. Check the entire world and see it for yourselves. This is not Glenn Lall saying. This is what all the experts, the energy experts saying. But Jack Day saying 15 cents. Yes, he can chop it down to save 100 million. Even to that, Mr. Jack Day, where is the proof? The world is selling less than 10 cents per kilowatt. Let me go with your 15 cents. Where is the proof? The proof in the pudding we need to see. Don't sit down with people who are pretending to be media people, allowing you to showcase any scheme or concoction that come out your head. Have the courage to come and sit down with the real press to speak to the nation with clarity on these things. They are too important to further in depth a struggling nation as it is, much less our grandchildren, Mr. Vice President. Bring the proof. Where is the financial study? You don't have one. And you cannot get one because you don't even know the cost of the project as yet. Imagine a man doesn't know the cost of the Wales gas plant as yet. And he talking about cutting electric bill by half. You talking about cheaper electricity with the loan. Let me ask you this, Mr. Vice President. Did you factor in the cost to change all the power lines and poles across this country? No, uncle and auntie. That would be another set of billions to be borrowed. But you're not hearing Jagdeo saying anything about that. That cost ain't coming nowhere yet, you know. Then he went on to say they're building 11 more hospitals with 4 in the hinterland because we can't eat all the oil money. Oh boy, Greg, they could sure thief out all though with the help of contractors. Yes. Tomorrow, we are carrying a story in which they're going to build a school in Region 9. One single school in Region 9, Rupununi, and telling us it will cost $1,700 million. Man, you don't hear nothing, man. 1,700 million, uncle. That school must be building with gold plate and a diamond tip roof. For what? For what, Greg? For how many children? Maybe 50 children gonna go to the school, and all of them gonna go hungry anyhow.
I hear this scenario, overcrowded schools.
Yes. This is how they're spending the little oil money they get. Like there is no more tomorrow. $1,700 million for one single school. Man, when I see these things, you feel like do crazy things in this land. Y'all should ask him if he got 11 doctors or 11 nurses to fit in them hospitals he going to build across this country. This is the kind of incompetence and craziness that is going on in this land. Just building to show that they're building and to show off to the world. They're doing everything possible to improve the healthcare system in Guyana. But do we have the manpower, uncle? Do we have the skills? Do we have the people to manage the hospitals he's talking about, auntie? You can't even find an X-ray technician to work at the Georgetown Public Hospital. You can't find a technician to run this CT scan machine if they got one. I don't think we have any of the CT scan too in the country working. But they're going to build 11 more hospitals with borrow money to thief out half come next year. And when they're completed, all you will see is a set of security guards guarding closed doors day and night until it crumbles like paper. It's happening already. Look around your neighborhoods. Only security guards you're seeing at the closed health centers, right across this country, day and night though. And you only see, if it do open, it's 2 and 3 hours a week with a nurse. That's the vision these leaders of this country have for Guyana. The oil company that said they're making over $2 billion in profit a year. The boss man tell me how he's a director at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. And he's going to use his influence to help modernize Guyana's health system while robbing we blind Gregory. Oh boy, when you listen to these people, when you listen to the leaders, and when you listen to these white folks, when they come here, sweet talking and promising and telling you this and telling you that, man, you give away not only Guyana, but you give away yourself too. You guys see why this conversation got to change, and change quickly, uncle? Jagdale roadside gaff or side dish gaff got to change. Y'all conversation, uncle, has to change too. Aubrey Norton, Ramjatan, and President Ali conversation got to change. And if y'all conversation doesn't change, there will be no change in them to bring about any change in this country. So please, guys, this conversation in Guyana has to change from who wearing what, and who wearing this, and who going there, and who going, man, that has to change with empty pockets. We are the owners of this world-class wealth, guys. Yes, we are the owners of it on paper. We are among the richest people in this world. We can't continue to have the same kind of conversation that we were having 5 years ago. From today, it has to change. And it was changed with an uninterrupted focus as to what we have and what we must do to get the best from what belongs to us. Man, uncle and auntie, nobody will give us anything if we don't demand or fight for what God has blessed us with. I don't think I can be more simple or more clearer than that. Look, I have been doing it come 29 years now with the Kaieteur News and 3 years with the Kaieteur Radio. In my mind, I believe that me and my team at the Kaieteur News and Kaieteur Radio have done more than our part. Isn't it time that you people begin to play your role, man? Huh? I have never felt so moved and appreciated like what happened to me in Trinidad. I visited a friend and a neighbor of that friend, a big businessman, saw me walking in and came out, shook my hand, gave me a hug and said, "Brother, you're one of a hell of a Guyanese." He went on to tell me that one of his business colleagues in Trinidad sent him my radio programs, and his friend is delighted that there is a Guyanese like Lall. When I told him we were leaving that evening, he wanted to leave his business place immediately and take me and my reporters to a dinner to express his appreciation of what me and my staff is doing in Guyana for the Guyanese people. Imagine that discussion. Our discussion, yes, our wealth discussion is going on in the business circle in Trinidad and Tobago. of what me and my reporters are doing daily in Guyana. What happened to you guys? What happened to your discussions? Why are your conversations stagnant in the same place, not moving? Can somebody tell me something? The guy was disappointed when I said we can't go, but he made sure he tell me anytime I come back to Trinidad, he's there to take me out and to express his appreciation for what I'm doing, not only for Guyana, but the region at large. The last bar, half-mile before the airport, we stopped to grab a drink. As soon as I get out the car, a police vehicle rolled up. Sitting inside were 2 ranks and an inspector. The inspector asked me, "Did you see a boy pass here just now without short?" I said, "No, sir. Let me ask the driver." Before the driver could have said anything, the inspector said, "Glenn Lall?" I said, "Yes, Glenn Lall." And the gentleman gave me a pound. The guy was so happy that he was able to give me a pound and said, "Brother, I follow you. I follow you. I wish I can stay with you, but I have to go catch the man who," and drove off. An inspector of police. An inspector of police in Trinidad and Tobago listening to the discussions that Glenn Lall is having in Guyana on Facebook and YouTube. And what discussions are you having in Guyana about your oil and gas sector? Huh? Let me share another one. Sitting down in the airport with my 2 reporters side by side, waiting to board the aircraft, a Trinidadian traveling to Canada came side to me, stand up looking at me. You know, Greg, I thought for a moment he was looking at the way I was dressed, only to hear him say, "Lall, right?" I said, "Yes, Glenn Lall." "I just watch you on the system." I said, "What system?" "The system. I watch you on the system." And said, that is the exact thing that happened in Trinidad and Tobago. Still going on in Trinidad. Still going on in Trinidad. And to this day, the man was so much in praise for the work I do on Guyana's resources. He said he wished a Glenn Lall was in Trinidad to open their eyes the way I am opening their eyes to the world, especially the Guyanese people. Now, if that is not enough for you people to change this conversation in this land, then Uncle and Auntie, I don't know what else to say. The gentleman gave me his number, boarded his plane to Canada, and we came home. You know, God don't sleep, and he don't like devils. He don't like evil. The signboard ExxonMobil put up with the blessings of Jack Dale over the Demerara Harbor Bridge with the misleading information on what Guyana getting fall flat on its face last night. A driver wake me up and tell me that. Please, I am begging you, don't let this country become another Trinidad. Don't let this country become another Asia or Africa. We are already on that road, but we can stop it. We can stop it from going further if we change our conversations. May God bless you guys. And do have a great weekend. Let the telephone calls roll. Joshua?
Yes, sir.
Bernard? What happened to you? You sleep away on me, Bernard.
You know,
Hello.
they get new signposts right now. They get new
Exactly, get new signpost with the gas to show project. I just started an illegal embankment by UG over there. Not UG over there, somewhere on there. They're taking the gas show saying that they're gonna reduce the electricity bill and reduce the price of cooking gas.
We don't want to reduce electricity bill or we don't want to reduce cooking gas.
How they
We want the billions that they're thieving.
exactly? But
Yes, good evening, sir. You're live.
Good evening, Dr. Lall.
Yes,
How
sir.
are you doing?
Thank you. Well, thanks. I'm doing well.
Appreciate the work that you're doing.
I hear
It's
you.
funny that as you were talking tonight, a thought came to me, two quotes. One says that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And the other says that evil flourishes in the dark, it must be brought to the light. And I'd just like to say to the Guyanese people that Mr. Lall is actually doing that. He's bringing it to the light. You've got to make this your conversation. You see, unless you take matters into your own hands, Mr. Lall is definitely correct. You will not benefit from the wealth that is under your feet. I pray, Mr. Lall, you're doing an excellent job, and I'd like to encourage you and keep up the good work. One day the Lord will say, well done, my good and faithful servant. I'm praying for you, brother, and Jesus loves you.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. I am begging the Guyanese people, please let us have this discussion. Like I said, this discussion should be on our breakfast, our lunch, and our dinner tables with our families. It should be in every corner shop.
every rum shop, every shop.
Let us keep it going. We cannot handle what is happening. You're not getting anything from your wealth. And on top of that, on top of not getting your true value with the wealth, your taxes, brothers and sisters, taxes, man, that me and you have to pay, down to the police and the nurses, the soldiers, the teachers, every public servants have to pay taxes. The law requires that. Down to the taxes these people are allowed to walk away with. And Jagdev keep on approving more and more projects with the same sour and stinking deal he cost on the opposition for signing on to. He is continuing doing worse than them. Come on, guys. You guys have to wake up. It's time you guys smell the coffee. Your future, your children's future is at stake. I am tired begging. Yes, Bernard, go ahead.
Glenn, our president says that we Guyanese people can't get $1 million even with the height of the production, whatever he's calling it. We can't get $1 million, which is $5,000, but ExxonMobil could get $5 billion and $50 billion and $500 billion and walk with it.
Every single month, every household can get $1 million in their home from the oil wealth we have and what they're pumping from at present. If only
We get
the
our fee.
leaders put their heads together and get what is rightfully ours.
Get our fair share. That's all we want.
Yes.
That's all we want.
Yes.
A fair share, our fair share. And we shall demand it, but our people is not joining us. We have to demand it. It's our thing.
Exactly. So
We
what?
have to beg for it.
So what President Ali and Jagdev is saying, those who are perpetuating this myth about giving each household $1 million is madness? No, uncle and auntie. You guys can do the maths yourself. Any child can do the maths. How can we settle for half of a quarter of a barrel oil How can we settle for that, man? When the damages and destruction the oil industry is creating in this land is more than that. Come on.
Glenn,
Come on.
Glenn, but
What are we talking about?
Just before we continue, we have a caller here.
Okay, take your call.
Caller, good evening and welcome. Thank you for holding. You can go ahead. Caller is ready for us. Continue, Bernard.
Good evening.
Mr. Glenn Lall.
Good evening.
I just want to echo. Good evening, sir. I just want to echo exactly what you just mentioned about every family should get $1 million a month. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I think that people deserve some sort of benefit from their oil sector.
My friend, hold a second. My friend, hold a second. Every household can receive $1 million per month with the kind of wealth we have in this country. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. Nobody. Everybody's salary should have been tripled in this country already. You hear what I'm saying?
I hear you, sir.
Thank you.
You know, and I got a phone call the other day, 2 days ago, from my friends in Essequibo. They're telling me that every 3 months they have to take their cassava and plantain scale in to verify the weight of the scale with the government. Who is verifying the scale of the for the gold company, sir?
Exactly. Precisely. You see what they're going after? They're going after the Guyanese people. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a TikTok tomorrow on that. They're going after the Guyanese people for paying taxes. They're going after the Guyanese people to check their weight, their scale, if it's correct or not. Who is monitoring and checking the scale that is pumping up our oil there? Who is monitoring that meter? You know? That is what they should be focusing on. If they focus on that, they don't have to focus on scale, on provision scale and weight. No.
It shows the mentality and the cake shop thinking. We're going back to the same reasoning again.
Exactly.
It shows the mentality and the cake shop thinking of these boys. Instead of focusing on the big picture, they're focusing on the small men. How can you squeeze? How much more are you willing to squeeze the small men?
Exactly. I'm doing a TikTok on that tomorrow. I will do a TikTok on that tomorrow, and I will elaborate Monday a little more on it. All right? Thank you, my friend.
Sir.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
You owe me a drink, but it's okay. We'll take it another day. Bye.
You can call us at 226-745-324 or 622-2222, 624-6456. Those are the numbers for you to call us on this evening.
It's sad, Bernard. Go ahead.
Glenn, I was shocked the other day. I used to think Brazil is only getting 56%. The new oil fields in Brazil offshore in 2017, the Great British Petroleum gave Brazil 75.86%, which means they are taking just over 24%. But you know why? BP could take 24%, but got 24% of hundreds of billions of $100 billion US dollars, still 24 billion US dollars.
Exactly. Good evening, sir. You're live on the radio.
Yeah, good evening, Brother Glenn.
Good evening.
I'm calling presently for Essequibo, man. Imagine as presently as I speak to you, presently now there is not an eye specialist at none one of the health institution that we have in Essequibo.
Exactly.
None one of the hospitals that we have in Essequibo doesn't have an eye specialist. I have to take my mom, my old mother that I have, to Georgetown, not to clean her eye, to get a date. Then I have to bring her back. Then I have to take her when they give you a date for get her eye clean. Is that?
That's the world-class healthcare you're talking
That's
about.
the world-class healthcare. That's the world-class healthcare Vice President Jack Davis is talking about. Yes, exactly. It's a world-class GAF. You don't have nobody in the country. You physically don't have anybody in this country.
You spend 3
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Brother Glenn, I'm back again, man. I noticed our call cut off or something.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. You say you had to take your mom.
I'm telling you that I'm covering a secure here, man. And as presently moments as I speak to you, none one of the health institution we have here in region number 2 doesn't have an eye specialist. You can imagine that I have my old mother have to go to Georgetown to go clean her eye.
Yes, we heard that. We heard that part.
I just want to know if that's a healthcare system, if Mr. Jagdeo is talking about, man. Because these institutions, these healthcare institutions that you have here on the Essequibo Coast, they have lack of staffing. And it is so sad that the senior citizens of this country have to suffer the blunt of an administration. Right? And I hope people are seeing. And as I speak to you presently now, Mr. Glenn, it's not my mother alone. There is
I know.
a set of people.
I know.
I know.
I'm born and grew in Essequibo, don't forget.
Yeah, I know that, man. Yeah, but what I'm saying, at presently now as I speak, there's a lot of people, old people, have to go through that kind of boarding, man. Essequibo is a rice producing county, man. It's a hard working set of people. And, I cannot understand when Mr. Jagdeo is saying, that he building so many hospitals, but there is lack of staffing.
They don't care about that.
You think, listen, man.
They care about staff?
Listen. Them chaps just building these things. Can you imagine $1,700 million for one school? One school? When I hear it, listen, man, we're carrying the story tomorrow. When I hear my reporter say the estimate is 1,700 million, I thought they were building a skyscraper bigger than the world, man. The best thing in the world. And you could believe this thing, man?
Man,
huh?
these fellas, these men, you want to know everything a dreamland, man,
Huh? 1,700 million?
For a school in Guyana?
For a school in Guyana in Region 9, they're telling the story tomorrow. This is how your idle money vanishing in thin air.
You're getting 2%, and the 2% you're getting is squandering it.
All right, brother again.
Thank you. Could you believe this thing, man?
We have a call here. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Mr. Glenn.
Yes, good night.
Good night, my dear father. You are the father of this nation. I am telling you this. I listened to your program for years now. And I'm so surprised. I lie on my bed here. Listen to you so attentively. You went to Trinidad, you went to Africa, you went to all over and see the suffering that the people is going through. Mm-hmm. And you come here and you explain these things to these big men. Mm-hmm. Our leaders, them, and no one pay heed. No one pay attention. Mm-hmm. No one try to change this fancy agreement that they make. Mm-hmm. Brother Glenn, yes. Father Glenn, let me tell you this, say, look the shame what them put. $2,000 more for disabled people.
Oh,
let me hear that
man.
in the bus in tears.
Oh, man. Oh.
Paralyzed people that in wheelchair don't have work anywhere. Depend on that money. Tell me now, it comes $16,000 now. What $16,000 can mine a man for 31 days? You tell me this, Father Glenn, you tell me. This is hurtful. If a man dead in 40 years, he get 25 years away to get pension. You tell me this thing, Father Glenn. How can on earth $16,000 mine this man for 31 days? Go in the shop. take the 16,000 and go to a supermarket and buy, see what you buy, and it can last you 2 weeks. You can't. Brother Glenn, I love your program. You're talking to the world, and I'm so happy to listen to your program every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I sit on my line, I'm on my sick bed here, and I listen to your loving program. Father Glenn, take care and have a good night, brother.
Thank you. Pray on them, man. Sorry. Pray for them. Pray for them. Oh, you gotta pray. You gotta pray for them. Yes, sir.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Lall. Again, I'm calling for a second time tonight because I think from next Friday I'll be teaching classes Friday evening. So I'll have to get your replays. But a thought came to me that it's insightful that you actually mentioned what is taking place. When you mentioned what's taking place in Ghana with the mines,
Yes.
where they're actually pressuring the taxi drivers for taxes, and they're allowing the Chinese to literally take the gold through the back door.
Yeah, eat
And
up
now,
everything.
what you've said has actually taken place now, where they're actually pressuring the little small people in Guyana for taxes, and they're allowing the oil company to literally walk out with billions. Brother, your job is invaluable, what you're doing, and I can't stress any more that the Guyanese people have to make this a conversation for their dinner tables, for their outings. I mean, encourage others to listen. I am sure that if this continues, that it will take fruit. Continue the good work, brother.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Caller, good evening and welcome. Hello.
This conversation, guys, this conversation has to change. And you guys got to get cracking. You got to get going. Come off this old time or old talk, people say. And let's begin to focus on our resources, what is happening in this land with these foreign people just fetching away as if the parents put it here for them.
But Glenn, before they're not doing it to Brazil. Why they not doing it to Brazil, Glenn?
Let's just take this caller. Caller, good evening.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
Yes, I'm calling from Highway the first time in my life. I listen, put down that in low a little bit. Here I hearing a lot of things, and I'm Amerindian. I'm from Region 9, but living here a very long time. And I always do little things. I have children mining, and so, grandchildren, relatives, babies, and so who died, and so. The other day I went to Dora. I'm living on the public road on the riverbank side, and I went to a friend, and he was explaining, and I saw it, why these politics want to build more hospitals. There is a health center in here, and it is in bush, no nurse, nothing, and people are sick. They have to come to Long Creek, and the Long Creek doctor is only one, and he comes once a week. And they said some minister came, and people start explaining about it, how it's broken down and it's going to repair and this and that. But the minister just listened. He never said that he will come back again. So people is worried. Raver said they have to paddle to go somewhere in, health center, more down, Mary, wherever. So why they want to build more hospitals? That's nonsense what they're doing. They ain't looking into it. They say, well, they have another teacher's house again. And the school now built there for Dora children, and it's only 9 children. Suppose all the children pass and come an entrance and go to another school. They said that school was left there. And when the people, let me say people came now to see this, the house, the school teacher house. They say it's not we build it, it's T&T build it. We don't have nothing to do there. One headmaster acting want to take it over, but they are not giving permission up to now, so they want to build another one. But how is it they want to build another one and there is a house that no teacher never used? You know? That is it. So that is my concern, and many other more, but somebody has to take over. Yes, on the highway I'm calling from.
Thank you.
I listen to your radios every time. My old radio is not working so good, but I like to listen to this, and I never get through to call, but only tonight.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night. What do you say to this citizen? Huh? She's saying that they have a health center there, full of bush, nobody there, and now what I'm gathering from her is that already fall apart, and they're going to build another one.
Right, but not only that, the people in the village have to go how far they got to pay transportation to go to other places, and the doctor is there once a week.
Mm-hmm. You see,
so all the billions are spending for buildings, no people.
This is what governments do all the time. They use healthcare and education as a bait, as an ingredient to siphon off, to huff out billions.
Yes, because
that's what they do.
The money doesn't go to the people in the
Take it.
Caller, good evening and welcome.
Hello.
Go ahead, good evening, we're listening.
Yeah, good night, Mr. Glenn.
Good night.
Yeah. I appreciate the work you're doing for me, man. I still there with you, listening to you every night when you keep your program. And I'm waiting for when you're ready for go again for protest for these people, man. I just hanging out to see what you are doing, because like these people ain't doing nothing good for me, man. What they're really doing for the country.
Mm-hmm. Well,
watch the highway. The highway blocking up as enough holes them up on this highway here, so. The whole highway blocking up, and then fixing the highway. What are you doing with all this money, man?
You know who broke up the highway? The Linden Highway? The Chinese with the lumber they thief out this country.
Yes, every day and night the man driving on the highway with them team with it. So what are we doing with all this money, man?
You see what's going on?
I be talking to a man there today when on the road traveling going. I tell me about how the thing is. You know what the man tell me? He tell me we can't do nothing. We got to stay like how. I said, by there is the same thing. That's why none of we in there know it like that. Just like how you talking, you fighting them. What are you fighting them for? That is why I now see that is why Africa people become slaves for them, because they're fighting for get up a talk.
Exactly.
And then they got me, brothers and Armenian sisters, them too. Them and all even get up and say nothing for themselves. Mm-hmm. And this wealth belongs to all we. This wealth belongs to we, the Armenian people, for this land. And you know what they do? They bypass, we know what? They share out we think like if they had, like if them own it. Eh?
Exactly.
Sometimes when you talk, I just get vexed, I just get vexed like how you just talk, Because when I listen to these things, it's definitely advantage and crazy that these people, they have no respect for nobody at all. And the Armenian people still on shutting them out. Some of them, they're following them. But when I try to talk to one of my family there, she's at the show in the village, she know all this to them. She said, we about talking the government. I said, sister had to tell you, the man ain't about talking government, the man talking the truth.
Exactly.
I said, but this is why telling I not going in there and tell the people them nothing in the village. I had to get one of my family here for let you tape you, for carry it in there, for let me family there for understand what's going on in there. Because none of them in there don't understand what's going on in there. Mm-hmm. They're just brainwashing you. Many people telling them they get them tractor, they get them this, they get them that. Yeah?
Well, they have been
tractor and them thing. We want money, buddy.
1 second. They have been doing that all their life, fooling the people with a few hamper and a little speedboat engine and a speedboat all their life. That Linden Road that you talk about, damage, break up because of Baishan Lin still using that road with container load trucks by the hundreds every week. A few car and a few minibus running up to Linden is not what breaking up the Linden Road.
Exactly.
No, it's the timber truck with the pass.
Is it timber trucks? Is it timber trucks that fetching out your timber to come load on the ships?
But right by Low Creek here, so two deaths don't happen there already because a big hole there, one in the middle of the Low Creek Bridge. Anyone in transportation, I tell the man about it. The man said, yes, he's seen the. I said, now you sit down and shut in your mouth and now you're getting up and you talk about it.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, we got to get up and talk to these people and why you're fighting them. You know, I saw you, Mr. Ali. I tell you the truth. He's going to talk to me like how he talked to Lady in Bartica, you know. Because me, stay like you, he can't jail me because me not got cost, you know. Me, I tell you straight.
Exactly.
We the leaders, we the owner for these things here, buddy.
Yes, let them know that you own it.
Everything that move out of this land here, the Armenian people supposed to know. Huh?
You want to give you a little piece of story? Listen this. The gas wheels plant that will be paid from the oil money. Every dollar belongs to every citizen. That wheels plant will only generate electricity for only a little part of Guyana. So the entire Guyana is being robbed. You see how unfair Jagdev is to all the citizens? You're taking the oil money and spending it in for only one region. The rest of the regions are sucking salt. That's the reality we are living with. But I am saying that the outer regions should protest on that. The oil money should be spent so that every one of us benefit, not just a few.
Exactly. No.
Right.
Because what? They're sending money to them people in there. They bribe them Armenian people in there. They give them people $25,000. They send 50 for them in there. Mm-hmm. Everybody get equal of this money, nobody. But you're trying for bribe people in there. This is what they're doing for the vote for you. I send in some of your TikTok and thing with one of my family there because to show she know there on that. So I send in one of my family for let them know, let us see what I'm doing out there.
Exactly. Well,
I'm spreading you word for you because I just go with you and protest.
It's not.
Me and my wife just go with you there.
All right.
Me not concerned, you know. Me not fighting none of them. Me could tell Mr. Ali how he rest, you know, how you take advantage from we and we do in front of his face, you know. This not no disrespectful. First thing I want to ask you, who is the very first person being in this country, yeah?
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
You know, this is not no disrespectful, you know, but me not come here, you know. I belongs to here.
Exactly.
And he's supposed to know that. I want to ask him a question. And if I belongs to here and I is the owner for this thing, I supposed to know every single thing that's coming out of this country. Mm-hmm. And they don't do it. They never carry Armenian people there for make deal with them. And we, the owner here, they never carry none and we for make deal with them. Yeah?
Both governments took advantage of you, the Amerindian people, from inception.
I know that.
Every piece of the resources is only being shared with every other citizen other than you, the Amerindian people.
They give it to the foreigners and not giving it to
But what's saying it's all we own. They come here and they're getting it. We are shared between we know. Like up all we here no. All we now one. They operate like if them is foreign people, them man. Yeah? That they're concerned nothing about we. That them is not Guyanese or man.
All right, thank you, my friend.
All right, Mr. Glenn, good night, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Second, Mrs. Lall. We had a caller here waiting for quite a while.
All right.
Caller, good evening, welcome. Thank you for waiting. You can go ahead. Hello?
They're online?
Yes, they're online. Go ahead and speak, caller. All right, seems like you might...
Yes, good evening.
This is Mr. Glenn Lall.
Yes, and Glenn Lall speaking.
Okay. I try a long time to get onto your program. I enjoyed your program, how you enlighten us about we Guyanese people, what's going on in the country. I'm a pensioner, and as you say, thanks to technology that I could see I see you and hear you, and all that we didn't know, you know is going on now.
Yes, yes.
Sorry
yes.
to say how we Ghanaian people have to suffer.
Yeah.
I'm a pensioner, to be honest. I'm a pensioner. I call for Region 9. Right now, I'm on the bed, and I tried to get on a long time to your program, but I never get through.
Well, Region 9, they're going to build a school for $1,700 million.
Yes, I listen. I hear that. With all the resources that we have, I look for pension. It was 28 to 33,000.
Can't fit in your T&T.
Yes, that is number one. I'm a pensioner. I have a husband. He can't see. He's blind. And you get pension, yes. But when you get your pension, you have to pay so much in light bill. You have to buy the food stuff. When time comes, you don't have no proper change left.
I hear you.
So yes.
I hear you.
I enjoy your program. I try a long
Thank you
time
so
to
much.
get
Thank
that.
you so much. Thank you so
And
much.
God will bless you.
God bless
Keep
you.
on doing the good works.
God bless you too. Good night.
Good night.
Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
All right. With that, Josh, can I say namaste to all you wonderful people? I hope you enjoy the weekend. And as I am leaving, I want to just want to remind you that I'll be playing President Ali's speech in its entirety that he delivered in Trinidad at the Oil Conference. And you can listen to him yourself and you be the judge. Once again, namaste and have a great weekend. Play the
Because it took 6 years for that period. And a lot has occurred in 6 years. During this period, we hear a lot of lofty ambition in the region as to how we will get greener and cleaner in the production of energy. But are we really moving apace with what the global standards and our own commitment was to the world and is to the world? And what are the binding constraints that is preventing us from achieving those targets? And are these constraints expected to get better or worse as we navigate the future? These are key questions in answering the question as to the remaining life of fossil fuel and natural gas. When we have this open and honest conversation, then we will see how lopsided the argument is in relation to the end of fossil fuel and natural gas. You see, the world is in the midst of a global energy crisis, a global food crisis, and a global climate crisis. But at the center of all of these crises lies energy, because energy is the backbone through which everything revolves. So what have we seen globally since 2021? We have seen, as the Minister pointed out, COVID-19, the pandemic. We have seen a region where severe climatic condition has brought tremendous challenges. We have seen imported inflation for every country in the world, including ours. We have seen the rising costs of energy, oil. Of course, Recently, the rising cost of gold too, which is good for us in Guyana. But we've seen some strange movements also. Whilst these crises are coming at us like a tsunami, we have seen some strange movement, in my view, not rooted in facts and reality, but rooted in a policy agenda driven by a few countries. We have seen an unwillingness to lend to companies related to oil and gas. We have seen the cost of capital increasing for companies related to oil and gas. And my answer is a very simple one. If you increase the cost of capital and make capital less available to investors, whenever they get the capital to invest, they will also increase the cost of the product because they also have to get back their investment. And who suffers at the end of the day? It is the consumers. It is the people who will suffer. It is all the industries that are supported by the energy sector that will suffer. So we have to have in these rooms, based on the last question that was asked, very strong statement coming from both the industry and governments that are balanced and rooted in the reality of the world we live in. And those statements must be loud, they must be responsible, but they must be in keeping with the realities that we face as a global community. That is important. The war in Ukraine has compounded the issue that we are faced with today. This region went through an energy crisis before, the energy crisis of the 1970s, however, cannot be equated to the pressures being experienced today. The energy crisis today is multidimensional, with natural gas, oil, coal, electricity, food security, an important part of the energy crisis, and climate change. According to the World Energy and Consumption Yearbook for 2021, global energy consumption rebounded by 5% in 2021, as compared to the 4.5% fall in 2020. The global primary energy consumption for the year 2021 was 176,431 terawatt hours. The four main sources of the power consumed were oil, 29%, coal, 24%, natural gas, 22%, and hydropower, 6%. This is a reality. This is not guesswork. This is the data. So let's have the conversation as to how we first move away from coal, the 25%. Why isn't that conversation the priority? If coal is the worst form of energy, how do we transition? What is needed to make that first and immediate transition from coal, which is 25%? Where is that conversation? Of course, during this period, we had record prices for natural gas. And on that note, for the security of this region, for the energy needs security of this region, I once again reinforce the call that every country in the region with potential in natural gas should be allowed to explore that potential to its fullest, aggressively, to ensure the energy security of this region. Here in Trinidad and Tobago, that opportunity exists, and that opportunity should be allowed to blossom for the benefit of the people of this region and the globe. Higher energy prices for both developing and developing countries meant what? It meant higher electricity costs, transportation costs, consumable goods costs went up. It contributed painfully to high inflation. Much of our inflation is imported. As political leaders and policymakers, we have to face that reality of an inflation that is not as a result of bad policies or measures, but is an inflation that is imported as a result of global conditions. This has pushed many families into poverty and food insecurity. It has forced some factories to curtail output or shut down, and it slowed economic growth to the point where some countries are heading towards severe recession. This is the reality of the world we live in, of the region we live in, as a result of an energy crisis. That is plainly what it is. Many times when you think about food insecurity and hunger, our minds automatically are programmed to look at Africa. But if you look at the data now, the Latin American and Caribbean region is becoming the fastest, most aggressive in food insecure region in the world. That is the reality. That is the complexity of what we are facing. So faced with energy shortfalls and high prices, advanced countries' governments, so we normally hear a lot of the policies that are directed by many of the advanced countries. But you know what they were able to do? They were able to commit over $500 billion to shield their consumers from the immediate impact of all that I spoke of. That is what they were able to do. They were able to advance $500 billion to shield their consumers. Much of what we face is a result of what is taking place by many of these countries. We face climate crisis. We have the worst vulnerability to the climate event. Not even 10% of that, not even 5% of that is advanced adaptation and mitigation in the region. So what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? Are we just to sit back and say, okay, we're going to go green, and then who's going to finance the capital? I'm going to come to that. In our limited capacity, if you look at the policy measures governments in this region took to cushion the pass-on effect of this inflation, it is remarkable by any standard. And I'm not saying this. Read the IDB report and the IMF report. It identifies by country in the region the type of measures we took to limit the impact of this on the consumers. You just have to read the report. And you will see that with our limited capacity, what we have done. In Guyana today, we have no other room to deal with the increases in fuel prices. We have took every cent of tax off. Every cent of tax off. What more? Together with short-term measures, government must take long-term steps, either to increase or diversify oil and gas supply, or look to accelerate structural change. Very simple. So we are about to implement an energy policy that requires tremendous capital investment if we are to achieve the targets that the region pledged. In an environment where most of the countries in the region are heavily indebted, there is no fiscal room to accommodate this investment. So what we have to focus on is exactly what you did this morning. Government's responsibility is to create the overarching frame, the policy direction, create the vehicle and mechanism through policies and relationship building that enables the private sector to make informed decisions in this energy transition. We live in a region that is blessed with some countries with tremendous potential in resolving our energy requirement. But not only our energy requirement in CARICOM, but if you look at what Cuba, DR, Haiti eventually, and going up the Guyana Shield with Suriname, French Guyana, Guyana, Northern Brazil, it is an enormous opportunity for a holistic conversation on securing our energy requirement for the region along the corridor, both in demand and in supply. And that is the type of conversation and frame that I think we have to adjust our minds to. How do we integrate the planning? How do we integrate the thinking? How do we create a structural framework and an ecosystem to support this if we really want to target it as an opportunity? So the Caribbean Sustainable Energy Roadmap and Strategy, which was approved to support the energy policy of the region, sets initial regional level targets for renewable energy contribution to total electricity generation in CARICOM. And what are those targets? 20% renewable by 2027, 28% by 2022, and 47% by 2027. What is the reality? The report card as of 2020 shows that only 11.5% renewable energy was achieved. 11.5%. So realistically, if we are so far behind the target that was set, and we have all the natural disasters, because one natural disaster can wipe out GDP, you have to go back to more fundamental things. Sometimes you have to rebuild an entire transmission line, transmission system. Where is that capital cost coming from? We have not seen a single announcement by any of the multilateral agencies of a window, a financing window to support this ambition. For a matter of fact, you would be so shocked to know that the only known available financing to achieve this target is with CB, with a loan portfolio of $1.4 billion US. This is the reality. This is not skirting around the issue or intellectually tampering with the issue. There's a lot of intellectual tampering with issues that does not fit into reality these days. But we have the responsibility as policymakers to fit things in its realistic environment and construct. So what is the estimated renewable capacity across the region? It is 1,574 megawatts. But what will it require? What is the capital that is required? You're talking about a minimum of $11 billion US to start with in achieving the most fundamental of targets. So we can safely say that in this region, fossil fuel and natural gas has a long future ahead of us. It's not a big scientific analysis that is required. It is based on what is before us. So the conversation is, how do we take this reality in the context of building a global system and world that moves towards net zero. How do we do it? How do we use the revenue to build such a system? How do we reduce our carbon footprint? How do we catalyze the revenue to open up new sectors, greener technology, to ensure that the viability of our countries and the viability of the people in our countries is also secured whilst we go on the green pathway. We have started to do a lot of that. In Guyana, we recently signed an end-user agreement in carbon credit sale to Hess. So we have to innovate. In this industry today, you have to be nimble, flexible, innovative, because the noise can drown you out very easily. The noise can drown us out very easily. So we in CARICOM all have lofty renewable energy targets. But the reality is that the energy demands in our countries continue to rise, and our energy systems are being challenged to meet our growing population centers and appetite for energy services. If you go through all the countries in the region and say, what is your priority in energy now? They will tell you the efficiency in the transmission system. And we can't even raise the capital sometimes to deal with the improvement of the transmission system to give you that efficiency. So while still quite capital intensive, renewable energy will and must be pursued. That will be very clear. This is not an argument against renewable energy. We must pursue every opportunity at renewable energy, and we have tremendous opportunity. So we must pursue these opportunities. However, the intermittent energy sources, such as solar and wind, are being deployed at an unprecedented level. But remember that this technology that is being deployed at an unprecedented level. This technology that is being deployed at an unprecedented level does not come foolproof. If you don't believe me, ask those who are trying to get batteries today. Where are the batteries coming from? Where will the replacement come from? What are the natural sources of the battery? And what is the viability of those sources? Where is the assessment of that? Who is doing the assessment? These are questions we have to answer. Because if we build our entire system on solar, and 25, 30 years from now we are faced with these challenges, what are we going to say to the population? These are things for us not to ignore in the conversation. Sometimes when you raise these issues, you are viewed as an obstructionist. But it's not really being an obstructionist, it's looking at the reality. And we have to deal with this reality. And that is what these conferences should do. Deal with this reality and the practicality of the environment in which we operate. So many times one of my disappointments in conferences is that there is no outcome documents. There should be an outcome document that feeds in, that must feed into the global system, to tell the global system how the region is thinking, to tell we will get. I think I'm over my time. That is the only way, my dear friend Dr. Rowley, I'll borrow 1 minute from you. In keeping with our regional strategy of cooperation, I just want to end by saying, let this conference be the starting point for our own thinking and our own positioning. That is important for us as a region. Not the fanciful dance, but the practical steps that will secure us, secure our future, and advance our cause. I thank you and God bless all of you.
Kaieteur Radio.
Covering Guyana from coast to coast.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.